as you know, we're entering into a new normal. And the new normal is going to be really based on data. It's all about data, right? That's basically what the blockchain is all about. It's storing data, it's using data, and then creating outcomes for the data. And so what I thought we'd do is to go through a series of installations and real-world examples where the data is being utilized. And so we can tie it back into the blockchain, and we can tie it back into what we can do with the blockchain, and most importantly, how can we monetize? How can we monetize the relationship? How can we monetize the data? And how can we create value as we go forward? Does that kind of make sense as far as kind of a tone setting? And I know it sounds a little bit far off what we originally were talking about, but it'll tie back in again into the blockchain and the blockchain that we have prepared, and some of the examples and some of the tokens that we have data that is tied into the real world. All of a sudden, you can start creating relationships. And if you can use data as a means to create relationships, and if you can use data as a means to provide value in those relationships, then all of a sudden having it monetized makes sense. And we know that they're interacting with data. If we are able to understand who's doing what, and you will see this later on, then we can start creating experiences that are based on context. And if context is something that you can leverage, and if context is something that you can use to enhance moments of time, whether that is watching a video, whether that is watching an ad, whether that is paying for a product, or whether that is conducting a transaction, a large-scale transaction, it all ties back, and the common denominator is the data, right? And so this is a little bit of a journey that we're taking, and it's all tied back into creating a solution that can create a easy to monetize, easy to operate, and a trusted and true ecosystem that enables a delivery of value. And going back to value, that's the first thing we started about, right? If you are providing a payment mechanism, you want to tie that into a value. You want to tie that into an end user experience. You want to tie that into a product. You want to tie that into something that is of value, so somebody is willing to pay for something. Now, if you then had an ability to do this into a system that is ready and is unique and can provide value, then we're talking about timing. Timing is everything. And of course, timing is one element, but if you can then also have an ecosystem that ties together cutting-edge technologies behind and to support the data-driven experiences that is tied back into a blockchain environment, then all of a sudden you can create a ecosystem that provides value. We're going to see some really cool stuff where we have an ecosystem that is, yes, data-driven, and yes, it has a series of different technologies integrated, but it's all about driving value where it's all part of an ecosystem. Whether that is an ecosystem that is driven by a fan, whether it's driven by somebody that needs to buy gas for their car or gas for their refinery, it doesn't really matter. And this is one of the things that we're looking at. How can we leverage data? How can we leverage information? How can we leverage information and create experiences that are important and leverage technologies to deliver these experiences wherever they are important? We're going to see this shortly. We're an ecosystem like this, and I'm sharing this because while providing a blockchain is exciting, while providing a token can be monetized, but if you can have a token and a blockchain tied into an ecosystem that can expand further out, and if this ecosystem and this token was tied into an exchange, all of a sudden you can use this ecosystem to more than quote unquote just tokenization or just payment mechanism. I know I'm going really fast and there's a lot of high level slides here that are utterly boring, but it all ties back into this data and what are we talking about. Likewise in healthcare, this is an ecosystem that can enable a more intelligent way of providing care, whether that is a care for a senior citizen in the UK in North Somerset, which we work with, or whether it is helping people be healthy in COVID, then all of a sudden it ties into an ecosystem. Now, a bigger play could be a smart city, and the ability to have an ecosystem tied into a smart city can also be powerful. Now it starts to get a little bit more tangible because it can also be into something that we call sports. How can we engage with fans that are in the stands or in today's market not in the stands? And how can we take a boring back end system like this, right? This is basically what we're going to be talking about, the blockchain. But if we were going to show you slides and slides of blockchain, it would be even more boring than this, right? So what does this mean? What does a blockchain mean, and what can it be used for? And how can it be used to provide value? And we're working with a whole bunch of other teams around the world that are looking at our system on how can we engage with fans, and how can we keep our fans safe when they're in the stands. Now, I'm sharing this because this shows that there's all sorts of ecosystems that can benefit from this intelligence of everything ecosystem. Intelligence of everything ecosystem enables us to create these connections, whether it's data driven, and we have built a solution for them where we are delivering fan experiences, fan rewards. And I'm sharing this because, again, it ties back into this ability or this concept of monetization of experiences, and we're going to see this live. Because if you provide a benefit based on data, such as an reward for attending a game, all of a sudden you can create experiences that are interesting. You can communicate with a fan on their journey, and you can enhance that moment of time, whatever that moment of time is. Kind of a backstory on this. Ole Miss asked us to help them put together a reward system, because when the boys are playing football, American football, they have no problem selling out the stadium with 70,000 seats. In fact, there's another 120,000 people outside the stadium partying. But when the girls are playing real football, soccer as we call it here, nobody used to come, right? So nobody comes. The girls kick the ball, for crying out loud, they kick the ball with the foot rather than the arm, hence football. So all of a sudden we have the ability to encourage the fans to come to the stands. Then we have the ability to reward them for attending that game. And we're going to show some of this data live so you can see that this is indeed something that drives behavior. Now, with our contextual intelligence platform, we know where the fan is, we can interact with that fan, and we can serve up experiences and content and unlock experiences and information and activate a payment component, hence going back to this concept around monetization, where we know where you are, we know what you're doing, and we can serve up information that's relevant to you at that very moment of time. So this is what we do, right? This is what Ole Miss is doing. They reward you, they encourage you to come to the stands. We automatically reward you for going to the stands, and you get points. So now all of a sudden we have gamified the process of going to the game, and we're rewarding that behavior. And this is obviously a natural way to tokenize an experience. Coca-Cola likes this in so much that they are activating the stadiums. As you may recall, in the old days, you're all younger than me, so I'm not sure if you've ever done this, but when I used to go to concerts, we had lighters. And we had lighters that we held up over our heads, and that's how we interacted with the band. And everybody had lighters and burned fingertips. Now, what we've done with Ole Miss is that we've activated the app, the phone, where the phone flashlight is flashing with the sync with the music and the stadium lights. Cool, right? Now, this is one of those experiences where we engage with the fans, and the fans now in Coca-Cola asked us to do this to see if we could have a little contest and see if we could give away 500 bottles of water during a game. Well, we activated this. We created an experience where it was all on the big board, and not we didn't give away the 500 bottles in the game. We gave away the 500 bottles in the first 3 seconds. So this system is powerful. This system enables us to create these experiences, these kind of engagements that are are exciting and engaging. Uh, Two quick things here that are a little bit interesting. University of Mississippi has 22,500 students. We got 23,273 active users. That's a installs. That's a big number. So that means that we have more than 100% of the students are using our system. What does that mean? Well, as you saw, we encourage the fans to come to the stands. We reward them for it, and we talked about this idea again that we know who's watching and we know what they're doing. So we're going to do a little bit of a big brother, big mother moment here. We're going to go in and see what's happening at Ole Miss right now. So zooming into Oxford, Mississippi, if you can see the screen here, apologies if you get dizzy. But here's University of Mississippi. And these squares and circles are what we call a geofence. When somebody comes through this with our app, we know that they're entered. We know how long they're inside this. And we know when they exited. If you see this on a satellite environment, you can see that's actually in the stadium. We actually know when the fans go inside the stadium. This is kind of cool, right? Now, why is that interesting? Well, because if we want to reward somebody, if we want to get paid for somebody, or if we want to reward somebody for coming to this place at a certain time, then we can also tokenize that environment. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Now, so this is a geofence. This can be placed anywhere in the world. No limitations. Any gas station in the world can have one of these systems. And so anybody that is part of our ecosystem, when they come to a gas station and they might happen to have a token that is part of our ecosystem, we can encourage them to use that as a payment mechanism. Right? Why would that be interesting? Well, if we can get them onto our gateway, into our system, and into our tokens that we can trade, all of a sudden we can provide more value around that ecosystem. We also have another key component here, and these are little beacons. These are beacons that are placed at certain locations. When anybody comes into proximity to this, I know exactly where they are. We know how far away they are from that beacon, inside and outside. And now all of a sudden we can get information and we can serve up content that is relevant to that person at this very moment of time, whether they are indeed in line to get a beer. We can ensure that they get an offer to buy a Budweiser instead of a Miller, or a Coca-Cola instead of a Pepsi, or we can encourage them to go to somewhere else where we have it. Now, if we want to see
question, sorry.
Yes, please.
So basically, is this RFID tech or is this NFC?
Neither, but good question. This is a BLE proximity beacons.
Oh.
Yeah, so those are the beacons that I showed in the stadium.
Okay.
Go back to this. So these are beacons.
Yeah.
As you can see, we have a high density of this. This is probably one of the highest density anywhere in the world. We had this at airports and so forth as well. We also have NFC tags. We also have RFID. We also have geofences, and geofences requires zero equipment.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, and this is great that you know some of the technology behind it. And what's unique with our system, if you see on the left-hand side here, we can activate NFCs. We can activate AR. We can communicate with AR. We have digital screens and signage. So that
no way. So people could just walk around with the phone with the thing with the app enabled, and they could like accidentally go over one of those NFC or one of those, probably a QR code or something, right? And then up would pop like an ad or some relevant information.
Absolutely. And this is a really cool. I'm so glad you know this kind of stuff. So we ran a campaign with Coca-Cola, right? So Coca-Cola wanted to see if we could encourage fans to come into gas stations and buy Coca-Cola products. So we ran a little campaign where we activated a series of convenience stores and gas stations. And when a fan would come into that, in proximity to that gas station, they got a message to welcome them to come inside the store. And if they if they did and bought a Coca-Cola product and scanned that product with AR, right? No QR code, but the product itself in augmented reality, then a game would appear on that bottle of that Coca-Cola product, and they get extra points for it. So
Wow.
yeah, that's really cool shit, right? And this stuff, this increased attendance, this increased sales of Coca-Cola products in those participating stores by 15%. They spend no money on that campaign, no infrastructure, no marketing, no TV ads, no radio ads, only through this platform, because we know who you are, we know where you are, we can then serve our content to you at that very moment of time, and then all of a sudden we can reward you for that behavior.
Look, I was working on something like this a few years ago, but I gave up on the project because we didn't have anything this advanced. Yeah.
This is powerful stuff, and I'm glad that you're recognizing the system here, because this is indeed well, let me put it this way. So
next level marketing, next level advertising, next level
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the chief medical officer for Microsoft, Dr. David Room, we're working on a project with them, and he said it this way: Eric, what you have here is a gold mine. And then he corrected himself. I would say, sorry, it's not a gold mine. It's a gold mine, a platinum, uranium, and a diamond mine all together. This is incredible. And of course, really what we're talking about here is not just the campaigns and the management we can do and verify that people are inside the FedEx building. This is athletic department at Ole Miss. We can now encourage them to go when they're here or at the Coliseum. We can get them to come over to our friends over at the Walmart Supercenter, right? We can literally drive behavior. We can literally enable interactions. And of course, when you then have the final part here where you can encourage those that go into Starbucks or a AT&T store, then all of a sudden we can enable them to do that transaction, that payment transaction, real time. This is powerful stuff, right? This is an ecosystem. This is a system that is tied into a database, tied into the ecosystem, data driven, as we mentioned. So on the left, we can go through a deep dive on this. It's going to take hours, but this is a complete communication platform. We call it contextually intelligent communication. Ole Miss, they are using this, and they're using it. The athletic department's interns are using the system to increase attendance, and we've increased attendance by 21%. This system works. This is really cool stuff, right? So now we're saying, okay, well, what else can we do with it? But let's look a little bit at the data, because I kept talking about the data, right? So this is the data that we're capturing on the back end, and it's just a data log. Right? It's data log, but I want to share with you one thing here that's kind of interesting. So these are data logs with 9 fields. It's time, it's what the action was where, type of action, which geolocation, the exact moment, who did it, their IP address, and also, let's see, since I should be doing myself, let's see, what do I look me here, see where I am. All of a sudden, I just look at my app, and I want to see where oops, that's not it. Where I go. The ability to now see where people are. Oh, let's see where Jeff is. And he is now in, can you see the screen? Oh yeah, so he's down by the Fox Pizza Den, wherever that is in Tupelo, Mississippi. Now we can identify where a person is. So if he's outside the pizza den, we can encourage him to come inside. And if he wants to pay with one of our tokens, our currency, we can ensure that he uses that rather his Visa card, right? Because that can be beneficial for us. And of course, we can have a delivery based on and a message based on his rewards and his status. He's a VIP, so maybe he'll get 2 pizzas for the price of 1 if he pays with our system. Kind of cool, right? Kind of creepy.
Very cool.
But very powerful. And here's where this gets really crazy. So we talked about 20 3,000 students. We have, out of 9 records, 9 data points, we have 14,772,000 data records. That means that we have about 130 million real world data points. This is where the gold mine, this is where the uranium mine, this is where the platinum and everything comes in because of this data. This is not data that's online behavior like our friends at Amazon does. This is real world behavior. This is what the fans are doing in the real world. And then if you can tie that into an experience into a store, and you can tie this back into actions and payments, then all of a sudden that the value in that payment mechanism that you create can be exchanged. Yes, it's tied into an oil, it's tied into an asset, but if it can be utilized, then all of a sudden you're providing the value or improving the value of that currency, because it can be exchanged for value elsewhere. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's really where I wanted to take this crazy journey that we just went on, from sports teams to data gathering to real world behavior at Mississippi, outside of Walmart, by the Fox Grill. This is as real as it gets, right?
So it's not. Is it real time tracking then when they're not close to one of your locators, or like GPS based, or?
It's a combination. It is real-time tracking. It's assisted GPS. It is beacon interactions. It's geofencing. We don't track people all the time because that can get really hairy with privacy laws. Naturally, what we do is that we map you when you do an interaction within our system or our ecosystem. Right, and that's a big differentiation. We're compliance with GDPR in Europe, which is very strict. Right, so it has to be when you're in the stadium. It has to be when you are redeeming an offer. It has to do when you scan a product. It has to do when you want to see a program and you want to have, or you want to consume our content. Right, you have given us permission. We are serving something of value to you, and that very moment of time is capturing.
So once you enter our zone, we can push information to you.
That's right.
Okay, I get it.
And we like to use the word present, right? We're presenting information to you, because pushing get pushy. And so I know
that's the technical term.
Exactly, right? So that's exactly it. The enabling, unlocking, pushing, presenting, activating, all of the same words for the same experience. We are creating a value for you as the end user. This is something that is of interest to you, and hence of value. So let's talk a little bit about actual the blockchain. Does that make sense? We've done the journey now about the data, the intelligence in the data, the gathering of the data, the capture of the data, and then the ability to act on the data. Now, we didn't see that, but at Ole Miss, this is very key before we go in. At Ole Miss, we've done something that, to the best of our knowledge, nobody else has done, and that is the event data. The 14 million data records, as you saw, are stored real time into our blockchain. That event data is a block. That means that when somebody does something within the ecosystem, that's stored in our blockchain. And of course, when you have 70,000 people coming into a stadium, you have a lot of data come through. Our blockchain, as you will see, has no problem maintaining 1,500 transactions per second. We're maintaining peaks over a period of times where we do 5,000 transaction data storage transactions per second. This platform is fast. And it's not just tied into quote unquote just online data, digital data. It's actually taking data from the real world. This is a fundamental difference in the way that we're looking at our blockchain, in the way that it becomes an ecosystem and an extension into the intelligence of everything system. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, we know that there's other in this place. We know there's Ethereum, we know there's Ripple, and of course everybody knows about Bitcoin. Different solutions. They have their place, but they also have a lot of limitations. that we have overcome, because we recognize for systems to have ability to be real, and tied into the real world, not just the digital domain, also has the ability to needs to have the ability to perform. So we've done this, and we're going to show that in a second, where we have this operational. We've created some tokens, and we can show how the system now can capture this data. I mean, basically, what I'm going to just paint this picture first, and I have this in the presentation so that you can see it later. But we're going to demonstrate this live as well. So, welcome to the dashboard. The ability to serve this up, the ability to have your private key, that's very critical, because of everything is encrypted. The ability to then see your balance, and the ability to create these various components, and interact with your wallet and your blockchain basically, and your tokens, in a way where you want to do this, is key. No, this is a live instance. This is real. This is tied into a blockchain, and Brent will be able to tell more about the what that means as far as the trading goes, and as far as a economics behind it. I'm just a technical geek that talking about how to connect it. He's much smarter than I am in all of this aspects. But the ability to create gas and oil tokens, as you will see, is something that we've already done. So this is really cool. We have also more information about the blockchain, the capabilities, a lot of details on how it works. I'm not going to bore you with all of that now. We have a world leader, it's a team member that can describe very detailed information about this, whatever questions you may have. How the nodes are, you'll see that there's some numbers here, milliseconds of transactions and communication between the nodes. They go up and down like crazy. It's modular, it's global, it's ready, it can grow, it's easy to buy, easy to operate, easy to use, and it's all connected, it's all tied in, and we are ready. And here's a key component: it's tied into an exchange. And that's the last thing I do before I go into the blockchain itself and show the tokens. And that's where it all comes together again. Because if you have an exchange where if you created a token, or you mined a token, or you had a token, and if you can put that into an exchange where that can be exchanged for value, in whether that is other tokens or that's fiat, all of a sudden you can monetize that initial digital asset that you created, and turn it into quote unquote real money, or real value, or tangible value. I shouldn't use the word real because everything is real. Even the digital blockchain is real.
The platform administrator, this is just going to be just what you're going to see here is just the kind of your administration, what it looks like. We'll have a platform administration engine as well behind this, which you'll see all the bells and which will share all the bells and whistles and the speed, which we can create how you'd like to trade the instance. If you want to be a mining instance, or in this case where we've just, for you, Coil, Calgary Oil is kind of where we went with the tickers. I think the ticker will be CH. I think it's right there. We've just went in and created a number of coins. You can see where we've tested the coins, some just in and out transactions on those coins. If you guys are familiar with any trade engines, if you will, we can, in the past where you see bid, ask, those types of things, the gentleman that built this part of the engine, he built single stack futures environment for this Chicago exchange, mercantile exchange, and that's what this is predicated on. So everything here is FIX compliant, or in this case, that's where we get the initials BIX. and it's just a very robust trading system behind the scenes in the blockchain. Now, I understand that you want to, and stop me here if you want. I understand you want to mine for blockchain, or that's part of our Bitcoin. That's part of what you're looking to do, and we certainly can enable that. Wrong screen there, Eric. Is that the mining portion?
Yep. This is the exchange part.
Okay. We can enable the mining portion, or you can flat just trade your coins for Bitcoin or whatever the case may be. That was what you were just on was part of the blockchain.
Yep.
So it's rather simple. I mean, it's so ridiculously simple. I mean, even I understand it, but it's ridiculously simple.
I have to say, it really is. It's pretty seamless, you guys.
Yeah.
This is something we've been looking for.
Yeah, it is ridiculously simple. The robustness on the back end for that, unfortunately, is not here to be seen today. But the robustness of the behind the scenes is ridiculous. To the fact that we can put in algos and trading black box technology and integrate it into your blockchain to stimulate trading and just really high-end trading, hedge fund type activity. But that comes from the fact that the creator of this, that's the world he comes from. So all this is KYC, AML, in the United States, Patriot Act type compliant technologies.
And that's really where we wanted to end up with this journey, where we started with data, right? And this is also data. It's all about the data. And as Brent was saying, this backend platform that we have is rock solid. It's built by somebody that's used to working with international currency exchanges. We can be hosted and built it however you want to do it. We can activate it and we can tokenize asset in any way and shape that you want to do it. We can enable trading, encourage trading, and enable that. And then also we can turn this into a tool that isn't just a trading tool, quote unquote. That's exciting in and of itself, but it also can be part of an ecosystem where it can become a currency that people are using. That's why I wanted to show the back end of the fan engagement, right? So this ecosystem can create that new fan at home token, the Liverpool token, the Calgary ice hockey team, right? So now all of a sudden, this mechanism, this platform for platforms, IoT, real world behavior, physical behavior, mobile interactions, data-driven data gathering, and then also the blockchain that can be tokenized. All of a sudden, you have all the components into what we would say is one of the most unique ecosystems of currency creation.